What is up everyone? Today we are going to be talking about my gaming PC for the first time on camera since I built it all the way back in January or February 2016. Now I'm just going to take this little opportunity to explain what the heck happened to part 2. In case you guys have forgotten, if you go back and watch the Doom PC video build, whatever it was, which was by the way one of my most popular videos of all time, if you go back and watch it, towards the end of the video I say and look out for part 2, and I provide a link to part 2 in the video description where I'm going to be benchmarking the system and all that sort of thing. As you guys know, part 2 never happened, and the reason for that was very soon after I'd begun working on part 2 we moved house, as you guys know. So I filmed about, I'd say, between 25 and 40% of the video, something like that. It was between a quarter and a third or whatever. I filmed a solid chunk of the video. I put a couple of days work into it because, as you guys know, those videos were very cinematic and had a lot of effort and they were scripted and everything. So I did a chunk of the video and then the move came up. And obviously I had to focus on the move, so packing the stuff, moving down here, and making all of the content relevant to the move at the time. By the time that all of that had sort of died down, it was now about 6 months since I'd built the system, and I revisited the timeline where I'd worked on about 30% of the video, and most of it was no longer relevant, which was kind of a big shame. I'd either moved on and was capable of filming better things, or the clips were just too out there and noticeably old because they were filmed at the old location. So I would have needed to have refilmed the whole thing. I did plan on doing that, but around that time also, I filmed all sorts of other videos and time just kept moving on and moving on and moving on, and it's very difficult to get inspiration to restart an entire video that you've already put a lot of work into. So unfortunately, for all of those pathetic excuses, that's why part 2 never made it. But today, we are going to be giving this guy some much deserved attention on camera by installing a second R9 380 Gaming 4G from MSI, which by the way is the graphics card in this system, just in case any of you have forgotten. Now let me explain. I am not really after any more performance from this system. This system does exactly what I need it to do. I barely get any time to game as it is anyway, but we have moved the gaming PC down into the living room, so I have been playing a few more games lately. I played through a couple of games that I purchased months and months ago or a couple of years ago and missed out on because I didn't have time to play them. So I've been catching up with my own library and I've been enjoying the PC. It's been performing perfectly and I don't want any more speed, performance or power or anything like that. It's running an i7 2600K overclocked to 4.6 gigahertz, which is a beastly overclock, especially on this little cooler, but it seems to do just fine. It's running a single R9 380 Gaming 4G from MSI. It's got 16 gigs of RAM, it's got an SSD, it's got a nice RAID 0 setup with Western Digital black drives. It's overall a really speedy system, but I came across this on eBay, I saw it, I looked at it, I thought it's been a while since we've done any sort of gaming PC projects on the channel, so I was like, you know what, this is a good price on eBay, I'm going to grab it, I'm going to stick it in my gaming PC, I'll get a little bit more performance, we're going to stick it in Crossfire, I'll make a cool video about it, and it'll be really interesting. So this is mainly for fun. I know the drawbacks to Crossfire. This is not what we're going to be discussing in this video. We're just going to be having some fun with a secondary GPU in this system. But first, let's take away the new GPU because we need to figure out how the system performs with the old configuration. So let's crank out some benchmarks and see how it performs with the single R9 380. So to start off with, just to give you guys a ballpark of what my CPU is doing, I've run Cinebench, and as you guys can see, my CPU pretty much towers over a 3770 because of my fairly hefty overclock, and it's just below the 4770K. I've said it before and I'll say it again, 2600K, man, absolutely worthy of a second-hand purchase. The motherboards can be a bit tricky to get a hold of, and I've heard that from lots of people. Since I posted this build, a lot of people have said, yeah, they would love to get a 2600K and save some money on the CPU side of things, but the boards just make it very difficult to justify, so then they end up going for a newer platform with a slightly lower end i5 or something like that, which is totally understandable because that's one thing about going with an older platform. You lose out on motherboard features, and it doesn't take very long for you to feel pretty old school when you're missing out on certain features. I'm lucky with this board because I'm running a Beta UEFI, so I don't have a really old school BIOS that I'm dealing with, so it feels newer in that regard. And I do have USB 3.0, SATA 3, 6 gigabit a second, all of that wonderful stuff, but that can be fairly rare to find in a board for socket 1155, which I believe is this motherboard, socket 1155, sounds about right. Anyway, so that is my result on Cinebench. 800, pretty easy to remember. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to load up Firestrike so that I can show you guys the real benchmark that we want to know, and that is, of course, the GPU benchmark with one card, and then we'll stick in the other one, Crossfire it, and run it again. So just after launching, it's recommending that we run the Time Spy benchmark, so what we'll do is we'll run that one. It doesn't really make much of a difference to us, because as long as we run the same benchmark before and after, we'll get the comparison. And I just want to say, this is all a bit of fun. I'm not getting too involved with the numbers. If I was really trying to push some extra performance out of my system, I'd be trying to squeeze as much as I could from it, but I'm not in that position at all. This system performs wonderfully as is. So as I say, just take all of this with a pinch of salt, and we're not going to be doing any sort of real world comparisons or anything like that. Just a bit of fun. And by the way, folks, when I was setting this up, just in case some of you spy this CD and wonder what it's doing wedged under my monitor arm, this desk, which is a cheapo IKEA tabletop, these are about 30 quid. It has finally given up on me in regards to the monitor mount. The monitor mount is far less beefy than it should be. Sorry, it's far more beefy than this desk should be able to handle. So it was only a matter of time, and I heard it crunch as I was plugging in the DVI cable today. So yeah, RIP to the structural integrity of that particular portion of my desk. So I'm going to have to think about something to do there. If I'd have thought about it when I moved in, I should have thought about it more and bought just a normal kitchen worktop or something like that. But there we go, that's something to chat about in the future. So the test is complete. We have an overall score of 2,894. So taking a little closer look, let's do some zooming because I am massively far away behind this camera. We have got, for the graphics score, 2,758. And we have 4,029 for the CPU. Validation warning, let's take a look at this. Your score contained the following anomalies. Graphics driver is not approved. Maybe, because I think I've just updated my graphics driver. I think maybe it's too new, I don't know. But I'm not going to worry too much about that, because obviously we'll have the same drivers and we'll be using the same for when we add the second card, so yeah, that should be okay. So with the system out of the way, we can now get on to the really fun stuff, and that is, of course, checking out the video card. Now, as per the majority of people selling relatively new video cards on eBay, this was a sale of a perfectly working card from somebody who had this in their previous configuration but has now either upgraded just their video card for a newer one or their entire PC for a newer one and has sold off the parts, which is something that we have all done. So we have got everything in the original packaging by the looks of it, which is really nice. I can't remember what comes in this. Obviously this is my second one of these, but it was a little long ago, so let's take a look what's in this package. We have got some very outdated drivers and some kind of pamphlet. This is a graphics card quick user's guide, and we have a DVI to VGA, and that is completely it in there, folks, so no need to delve in there ever again. Aha, and here we have the video card. So what we'll do is take out this video card, and have a quick look at it. It looks extremely clean. It looks identical to my other one, of course. By the looks of it, they were using HDMI because they haven't included the little HDMI cover, but that's okay. Yes, indeed, folks. We are looking very, very clean and tidy and pretty much brand new, so really pleased with that. What I'm going to do is, just like other video cards, I'm going to keep the connector cover in the box, as well as the anti-static bag. Just like the guy that sold me this card, I want to personally keep this resellable as well, because you never know. So this can now go up on the shelf with the box for the other card. Not that I have that box here at the moment, but I will do once I finally get the rest of my stuff from my old place here. So, very nice. R9 380 Gaming 4G from MSI. A really nice little card from the previous generation, or a couple of generations, or, well, last gen, really. Okay, folks, let's delve in here. I forgot that there was only one thumb screw on the back of this case for each side panel. But one thing that I haven't forgotten is the fact that the side panels open up completely the wrong direction, which is really cool. Now then, folks, wow, okay, this system was, even if I do say so myself, it was definitely a triumph. That is clean. I hope you guys can see that okay with my particularly rubbish lighting in today's video, but man, that is a nice, clean build. Now what I'm going to do first of all is I'm not going to give it too much cleaning attention inside. It looks like it's pretty clean, considering that we're using a 230T, which doesn't have the best dust filters. And I can tell you that it doesn't have the best dust filters because I am looking at them right now and they don't appear to have collected any dust. In fact, the only way I know that there are filters there is because I can feel them, although they aren't doing anything, so that's intriguing. But there's not a lot of dust in this system, especially considering that the top of the case is open, so falling dust can just land on the system. The tubing for the all-in-one liquid cooler is a little bit dirty, back of the video card's a little bit dirty, but nothing to write home about at all. For the most part it's looking really clean. So, quick rundown of everything in this system. We have got a Corsair AX860 PSU. This, of course, will be plenty to power our two video cards, and putting another video card in here will actually help me justify the use of this PSU a little bit more. If you guys don't remember back to the original video, I got this for a brilliant deal. If I hadn't have seen this secondhand for a brilliant deal, then I would have gone for a much lower wattage PSU. But I'm glad I've got the 860 because I can now make this video and put another graphics card in here. Over here we've got two Caviar Black 1TB in RAID 0, so we've got actually 2 terabytes, come to think of it, because we're in RAID 0. I think I said 1 terabyte earlier on in the video, but we've got 2 terabytes of nice speedy storage to play with there. Unfortunately, they are damn loud hard drives, which really sucks. This is not a quiet system by any means. Those 2 hard drives are super loud, and the front 2 orange LED fans are super loud. So I would love to address that in the future if I keep this as my gaming PC, which I think I probably will, because man, it is a clean build and I'm still really proud of it to this day. Normally when a project is sort of 3 or 4 months old, I look back at it and I think, yeah, I could have done way better. But looking at this system, I did pretty much the best that I could do now in terms of cable management. Coming up, we've got a Samsung 850 EVO, I believe, 250 gig. We of course have the original R9 380 4G. We've got the Corsair H60 all-in-one liquid cooler with a push-pull configuration of Corsair SP fans with custom painted orange rings. They look really nice. 16 gigs of Corsair Vengeance RAM with one stick that has been cut down tremendously because the previous owner of the RAM had a tall cooler and decided to hacksaw to the memory. Or at least the memory heat spreader, so at least the memory works fine. Up here we've got a Pioneer optical drive, I believe, DVD rewriter. Under there, of course, is the 2600K. The motherboard is a gigabyte something something something. And that is pretty much it for this system. So, talking aside, let's throw in the new video card. Oh wait, first, I'm going to give it a little bit of a clean. I forgot about that. Check out the super modern computer they decided to put on this can of air that I got from the pound shop. Pretty entertaining. Now, that is the worst can of air I've ever used in my life. There we go. So the slot layout in this motherboard is looking really good. because even when I install my new video card, I will still have a PCI Express 1X slot above the original card. I'll have one in between the two cards, and then I'll have one legacy PCI, normal PCI slot available right at the bottom. So it's actually the best of all worlds in terms of slot layout. It couldn't be much better. I didn't check my motherboard for Crossfire compatibility, but I remembered that it was a fairly high-end board and it had a load of slots, so I kind of figured that it definitely had another PCIe slot that was long enough, and also Crossfire support. So it's just kind of like watch this space and hopefully it'll work, really. So let's slot in the second card. And one thing that I've been really looking forward to is seeing my system much fuller. That's one thing that I love about running two GPUs, is the system just... Come on, Tom. There we go. The system just looks a lot fuller, which I really like. As you guys know, my previous system had two 6950s in it, and I loved the look, so I was a bit gutted that I didn't have two lovely GPUs to stare at anymore. But now, as you guys can see, I have two, and they look gorgeous. Thumb screws are a much appreciated welcome, but I'm going to grab a screwdriver because it's just much easier to screw them in with a screwdriver. Look at that, guys. That is just gorgeous, as you guys can see. Now I haven't plugged it in, and that's going to come next. One thing to note, which is very interesting, because it's always interesting to note things that progress over time. We no longer need to use a Crossfire bridge, which is kind of gutting in some ways, because when I had that black Crossfire bridge on the 6950s, it looked really beastly and just sort of tying the cards together. So in some ways I'm gutted, but it's very clever that they don't need one anymore, and it does all of that through the motherboard now. So very good stuff. Here is the cable management that I am oh so proud of. Here is the existing PCIe power cable. It comes out from here, goes along and up and through. Of course, one thing that is very important with this case is keeping all of these holes completely clear, because the other side panel is orange as well. They are very clearly seen, so if you've got cables crisscrossing everywhere, it looks really nasty. So that's my main goal, is keeping the holes completely clear. Hopefully there is space to bring the other PCIe cable along and in the exact same run, and then we'll tie them together. I remembered to hunt for my bag of power supply cables, so let's do it. Let's make it just as neat if we can. This power supply is super generous with cables. This is the one I need. It's a... let's have a look. Where is the end that I'm talking about? Yeah, this end. This is the 8-pin that goes to the power supply, and then of course you get two 6+2 pins. If you don't want the spare 6-pin hanging out, you can just use a single 6-pin if your video card only takes one 6-pin, but these take two 6-pins each. So this is the cable that we need. Now I'm just going to untie it. I keep all of the stuff. With my PC building, I keep every single drop of packaging, even down to the twist ties, because it helps with resale. So I'm hoping we can hide this guy. So we're in, and for the most part I'm really happy. The cables are pretty much as one, going behind, and I managed to get them in the exact same way, and it's really neat. But one thing I hate is this. It was bad enough on the first one, but look at it on the second one, man. It's just not great. The big loop that you get is not very attractive at all. But there we go, that is that. There's not a lot I can do about that, really, because they're so stiff. That is how it is. I hope that the next power supply I get is a little bit more stealthy, with it splitting into two 6-pins. That would be really nice. I've got a Seasonic power supply in my main system, and I can't remember what the cabling for the video card is like on that one. But yeah, I'm not a fan of these at all. They're looking pretty nasty. But if I hadn't drawn your attention to them, then maybe some of you wouldn't have noticed, although they are pretty obvious. But anyway, that is that, folks. I'm going to put the side panels back on and we'll take a look at what it looks like all back together. There you go, folks. One thing that I really like is because of the design of the side panel, it hides that ugly cable loop that I was telling you guys about. So yeah, really nice. The system looks way fuller with 2 video cards. So let's power her on and see if it blows up. Hey, good stuff. So we've got the 2 lights on, which is really a bit of a power down. That was strange. Power up again. Not too sure what's happening there. Whoa, dude. What the hell is that? That was weird. Ah, okay, yeah. It just sounded like maybe the pump was running a little bit dry for a second, or something like that. That's my best guess. Don't know if that was loud enough for you guys to hear that on camera, but maybe I'd just moved the system around a bit too much and the water needed time to settle. I really don't know. Or like get back into the block / pump. Yeah, nothing seems to be rattling now anyway. So let's enable Crossfire, and already looks as if it's figuring out its own display stuff. Let's nip into the driver and see what it's doing. So guys, as you can see, Crossfire is switched on. It did that by itself completely. And if we go back, let's have a little look into system. You guys can see hardware wise we have got R9 381 and R9 382, and they're linked. So without further ado, let's run the benchmark. My word, folks, I was not expecting a boost of that much. 5063. That's crazy. Just under double, really. What was the other one? 28,000. So yeah, you know, wow, crazy. We've boosted all the way up to, let's zoom in so that I can read it, even though you guys can probably read it, 5,284. And of course our CPU score 4,094. So man, that is a result. I mean, this is, you know, a synthetic benchmark. I never run them, but I was happy with my performance before. I'll probably be even happier with my performance now. Of course, it'll make no difference in certain games, but in a good chunk of games it will make a difference. So I'm very happy about that. Very, very happy. Something that has been quite fun to do and make a fun little video, and also has made my system look a lot cooler, has also given me tons of performance. So yeah, really good result. My gaming PC is now ready for another few months of gameplay ahead of me whenever I get the chance. I've been taking some evenings and stuff. Jess has been playing Sims on her laptop and I've been playing a game with the PC hooked up to the TV. I treated myself to an Xbox One controller for the PC, so yeah, it's been pretty fun to do that, and I'm going to continue to do that because I'm halfway through a game at the moment. So it's nice to have some time and space to do some gaming, because something that was just not happening was playing games up here in my office. I'd work in here for long hours, and then the last thing I wanted to do is sit at my desk and play games in the same room. So keep your eyes peeled for future videos where you'll see this in the living room on a sort of shelf that I'm hoping to put up. I've kind of got a plan, but for now it's just on the floor. Anyway, I do have some further things that I'd like to do to this PC in the future. I want to make it a bit quieter, and I'm going to use that as an excuse to make it a little bit fancier, and I want to get it way more lit up inside. As you guys know, I've got an LED strip in there. It's a bit Phoenix Alchemy LED strip. It's just not up to the job. I'm going to hopefully get some way brighter LEDs in there and just make this system overall look a lot better for when it's on its shelf. But for now, I'm very happy. I'm not going to be spending any more money on this thing for quite some time. You guys will probably see the cooling upgrade video definitely after the summer, probably closer to Christmas. So thank you all very much for watching, and as always, I'll catch you in the next video.